Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today. And it's a rainy day here in St. Louis today. The weather changes. You know what they say about my state? If you don't like the weather, stick around. It'll change. And it does constantly change here. It could snow tomorrow. It's about 70 degrees today or 65. And then the next day it could be 80 or 85, 90 degrees. It's just amazing how it changes here. Variety is the spice of life. Smash that like button, subscribe, and today we will continue our journey with self-esteem. Low self-esteem, how to recognize it, and what you can do about it. Very important, because if you don't feel good about yourself, if you don't feel like you deserve the best in life, guess what? You'll never get it. You have to feel like you deserve it. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to think well of yourself. It really doesn't matter what other people think or say about you, but what you think and say about yourself, and what you say to yourself is the most important thing. So let's continue. I found this article by the Mayo Clinic, or Post, whatever you like to call it. In my day, it was an article, but that was when we only had newspapers. Okay, let's continue. Low self-esteem can negatively affect virtually every facet of your life, including your relationships, especially your relationships. All of your relationships will be colored with your concept of yourself, your job, and your health. But you can boost your self-esteem by taking cues from types of mental health counseling. Consider these steps based on cognitive behavioral therapy. Number 1, identify troubling conditions or situations. What troubles you or bothers you? What makes you feel less than or not good enough? Are there people in your life who you feel less than or not good enough after you spend time with them? Okay, these people are reflecting back to you how you feel about yourself and are your best teachers. They indicate to you what you need to change. And in some cases, it may be to change your friends. Think about the conditions or situation that seem to deflate your self-esteem. Common triggers might include, but not limited to, a work or school presentation, a crisis at work or home, a challenge with a spouse, loved one, coworker, or other close contact, a change in roles or life circumstances such as a job loss or a child leaving home. These are all things which could indicate low self-esteem. But you don't want to go too far with that, because I had one of my boys, 20 years old. He moved out here a couple weeks ago, and I was a little sad about it, but I know it's best for him. You're going to have feelings and emotions of loss or sadness when someone leaves your life, like if a loved one dies. It's normal to feel sadness. It's normal to grieve. Or if your pet dies, these things are going to make you feel somewhat down. This is all part of life, of being a human. You don't want to ignore these feelings. Just feel them and express them in a safe environment. And what I mean by a safe environment is usually by yourself or with a trusted friend who will not be affected by it, but who will listen to you and lift you up. Not someone who's going to tell you, just get over it. Okay, number 2, become aware of thoughts and beliefs. Once you've identified troubling situations, pay attention to your thoughts about them. This includes what you tell yourself, self-talk, and your interpretation of what the situation means. Nothing has significance in itself, only the significance or meaning you give to it. Think about that. Your thoughts and beliefs might be positive, negative, or neutral. They might be rational, based on reason or facts, or irrational, based on false ideas. Whether your beliefs are true or false, you will create a world to be congruent with your beliefs. Ask yourself if these beliefs are true. Would you say them to a friend? If you wouldn't say them to someone else, don't say them to yourself. Think about what you're thinking about. Think about what you're saying to yourself, your inner conversations. Are they predominantly negative or positive? 3, challenge negative or inaccurate thinking. Your initial thoughts might not be the only way to view a situation. So test the accuracy of your thoughts. Ask yourself whether your view is consistent with facts and logic, or whether other explanations for the situation might be possible. Be aware that it can be hard to recognize inaccuracies in thinking. Long-held thoughts and beliefs can feel normal and factual, even though many are just opinions or perceptions. Life is perception. How do you view your world? How do you view your life? How do you perceive things in your world and your life? Also, pay attention to thought patterns that erode self-esteem, which are all or nothing thinking. You see things as either all good or all bad. For example, if you don't succeed in this task, you're a total failure. If you don't succeed, try again, and learn from your failures. Mental filtering. You see only negatives and dwell on them, distorting your view of a person or situation. For example, I made a mistake on that report, and now everyone will realize I'm not up to this job. Converting positives into negatives. You reject your achievements and other positive experiences by insisting that they don't count. For example, I only did well on that test because it was so easy. I think I've caught myself doing those things before. Give yourself some credit. Be your best cheerleader. Talk as good to yourself as you would your best friend. Congratulate yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself how great and how wonderful you are. Yeah, I know it sounds silly, but do it. Do it until you believe it. That's how you got to be how you are today, is by believing the input that come from out there. Choosing the wrong voices to listen to, the wrong messages. I've done it, I know. Jumping to negative conclusions. You reach a negative conclusion when little or no evidence supports it. For example, my friend hasn't replied to my email, so I must have done something to make her angry. And that's something today that we didn't have years ago. Messages. We get so used to people answering our messages right away. Sometimes we think if someone doesn't answer our message directly right away, immediately, that maybe we did something wrong or we said something wrong. And the problem with messaging is there's no voice inflection, there's no body movement, there's nothing there. I like text messaging for business because you can always go back and say, hey, this is what we talked about, this is what we agreed to. But in personal situations, it's very easy to offend someone because the way you say it as you write it doesn't come across that way when they read it. So you have to be very careful with that. And don't read too much into it because the way you're reading it may not be the way they meant it. Much of the communication today is done that way. It's very difficult. Much better to talk on the phone than to send messages in cases where emotions may be high. Okay, mistaking feelings for facts. You confuse feelings or beliefs with facts. For example, I feel like a failure, so I must be a failure. As a man, What you feel like doesn't have too much to do with it. Just keep pressing on. It's your job. You're a man. Now listen to your feelings. What are they telling you? But if you feel like a loser, if you feel like a failure, doesn't mean you are. If you feel like you're never going to get it done, it doesn't mean that you're never going to get it done. You must persist and you must be consistent. You must not allow your feelings to stop you from going forward. Believe in the vision, believe in the goal, believe in the dream. And your belief will be evidenced by your action in the direction of your dream, your vision, or your desires. Okay, negative self-talk. You undervalue yourself, put yourself down, or use self-depreciating humor. For example, I don't deserve anything better. I caught myself saying one yesterday. Of course. Something went wrong and I said, of course. That's a negative belief showing up right there. Of course it was going to happen like that. Why do you think, of course, it's going to happen like that? You need to listen to what you're saying during the day, especially during highly emotional, stressful times. Adjust your thoughts and beliefs. Now replace negative thinking, negative or inaccurate thoughts with accurate, constructive thoughts. Try these strategies. Use hopeful statements. Treat yourself with kindness and encouragement. Instead of thinking your presentation won't go well, try telling yourself things such as, even though it's a tough presentation, I can handle this situation. Forgive yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. Yes, everyone. Over and over again. They're isolated moments in time. Tell yourself, I made a mistake, but that doesn't make me a bad person. And no, it doesn't make you a bad person. Everybody makes mistakes. The most successful people make the most mistakes. Avoid should and must statements. Yeah, I should have done this. I should have done that. Yeah, you can should all over yourself. If you find that your thoughts are full of these words, you might be putting unreasonable demands on yourself or on others. Removing these words from your thoughts can lead to more realistic expectations. If you use the word should, it implies regret, that you could have done something different at the time. Well, if you knew better, you would have done better. Today you wouldn't do the same thing, so now you know better, so you have learned. Don't judge yourself from your past mistakes with the knowledge and wisdom you have today. Focus on the positive. Think about the parts of your life that work well. Consider the skills you've used to cope with challenging situations. Consider what you've learned. It was a negative experience. What might you do differently the next time to create a more positive outcome? That's how you learn from your mistakes. You think about them constructively. Okay. Relabel upsetting thoughts. You don't need to react negatively to negative thoughts. Instead, think of negative thoughts as signals to try new, healthy patterns. Ask yourself, what can I think and do to make this less stressful? Encourage yourself. Give yourself credit for making positive changes. For example, my presentation might not have been perfect, but my colleagues asked questions and remained engaged, which means that I accomplished my goal. Focus on the positive. Look for the good in everything, everybody, every situation, because it's there. And whatever you focus on grows in your experience. Remember that. Listen to your self-talk. Think about what you're thinking about, and you too can become successful. I believe in you. You can do it, no matter how many times you've failed. That's all I have time for today. Smash that like button, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow.